Vast majority of these subsidies are going to go to foreign countries, including the United States, with a president who's declared war on our auto industry. I don't know how you justify that. You can change it right. You can say, you know what, we made a mistake. American EVs are not eligible until the trade war is over. Why won't you do that?
In the hot seat, we have Industry Minister Melanie Joly dodging questions from Raquel Dancho and Kyle Seeback. They're going to give it to her straight.
Last week, yourself and the Prime Minister announced a $2.3 billion subsidy, taxpayer-funded subsidy for Canadians to purchase electric vehicles. As you know, the subsidy is available to American-made electric cars, which personally we found quite shocking given what the Americans are trying to do to our auto sector. You're well aware 5,000 jobs have been lost, countless others. Can you explain the rationale of allowing taxpayer-funded subsidies up to $2.3 billion to go towards the purchase of American-made electric vehicles?
So a couple of things. I think on the auto strategy, the objectives are clear. There are two of them. First is to support auto production in Canada, which I think we all agree here. And the second is really to make sure that we help the industry to get to a place where the rest of the industry in the world is, which is basically electrification. Because we know by 2039, 40% of all the cars sold in the world will be EVs. And while the Americans are taking their own decisions, we will be at the forefront of this industry and we won't just stay idle. So to your point, I was really, I wanted to make sure that we're supporting auto production
Minister,
in Canada.
if I may step in, again, the point is that you created a subsidy program, a very generous one, $2.3 billion. It's a significant taxpayer investment for electric vehicles. Why did you not disallow the American vehicle market to have access to that? It is odd to me that given what they're doing to our auto sector market, that our tax dollars, everyone at this table and the auto sector workers who've lost their job, those taxpayer dollars can go towards subsidizing the American market. So you mentioned we should be helping all auto sectors. I don't agree that we should be helping the American auto sector. I'm not sure why you do. So
first and foremost, everybody, the industry, Premier Ford, unions, consumer groups are all in favor of the strategy. Why? Because they get the fact that actually we're supporting those who invest in us. Because what is important in your question, and which the Conservatives have unfortunately not alluded to, is the fact we have countermeasures on counter tariffs on U.S.-made vehicles.
And we appreciate
but
that.
The reality is,
I appreciate that,
I'm
Minister.
sorry, I just want to make sure that I finish.
I
just want to finish my
20 seconds, and then Madame Dancho, I've paused it for the duration of
So we have countermeasures. And when the American automakers reduce their production in Canada, well, we reduce their market access. We just did that with Stellantis. 50% of the cars they used to send to Canada now are, if they're sent, they have tariffs. And same for GM, which is at 24.2% less of market access. So when you look at it, the incentives are linked to the fact that it is to support domestic production in Canada.
Okay, thanks, Minister.
And there is one, possibly two vehicles that are manufactured in Canada that are eligible for this subsidy. The last time your government brought forward a similar EV subsidy, 99% of it went to foreign auto sectors to buy their electric vehicles. So we can assume a similar situation will happen with this EV subsidy you've announced today. Again, I'm not quite sure why you would design a program where Canadian taxpayer dollars could go towards the benefit of the American auto sector. Again, can you explain why that's ethical in the situation that we're in today with the job losses, which is their explicit goal in the Trump administration?
Well, I think obviously the U.S. tariffs are creating this, and unfortunately I think the Conservatives have been long to denounce the tariffs against the auto sector. You even have a colleague from North Oshawa North, that went and freelanced in last week, and until he was reminded that he was representing GM and GM auto workers were being impacted by the tariffs, he was saying nothing about it. But that being said, if we put that apart, I think what is important is we are all about affordability. We want to make sure that people will have access to cheap EVs, that they can basically embrace electrification, and that we can have more auto production in Canada that are EVs, but also that people can actually have access to buy cheaper EVs, which is what Canadians are looking for.
And so that leaves very little option for Canadians. There are a number of options in the U.S. that are within the subsidy rules as you've established them. So again, I think we're quite shocked that you've created a program where Canadian taxpayer dollars will benefit the American auto sector. It's quite simple. Do you agree that that is ethical, given what they're doing to our auto sector?
Well, because the reality is we have auto manufacturers from the U.S. here in Canada. We have GM in Oshawa. We do. We have also Stellantis in Windsor. We also have Ford in Oakville. So we want to make sure that we keep their footprint, unless the Conservatives are against the footprint of these jobs, which are around 10,000 jobs.
Just vous deux, just a moment, just one moment, please.
Both of you, please. I have a number of MPs who are telling me there's a problem with the interpretation because two people are speaking at once.
Madame Dancho, when I have found the minister's answer to go a little bit longer, I've got 1 minute 40 remaining. So as I mentioned at the outset, this is about fairness. We want quality answers. Minister, I'll afford you about 20 seconds to respond to that, Madame Dancho. I'll then go back to you. And again, if I see there's a lack of equality, I'll pause the clock in order to afford you that time that remains. Minister, if you want to take about 20 seconds.
Yeah, and I think her colleague, Mrs. Borelli from Windsor, would agree that the jobs also at Stellantis are important now that there's 3 shifts. So we need to make sure that we support auto workers here in Canada, including those working for U.S. companies. But at the same time, we need to make sure that GM and Stellantis would have reduced their auto production in Canada are on the hook. We're going after the money, and we're reducing their market access. This is what we're doing, Mr. President.
But again, you seem to be placing this as this is some sort of negotiating strategy. Again, this is a subsidy that's available to cars exclusively made in the United States.
In Canada.
If they're made in the United States, they're eligible for this subsidy. So that's not employing any Canadians if you're buying an American-made electric vehicle. It just seems very unethical to us that you would design a program. It'd be quite simple to say American vehicles are not eligible for this, given what they're doing to our auto sector. And I'm not quite sure why you're not taking that position. Perhaps you can elaborate.
Yes. So when we say we reduce their market access, we mean that they will be imposed tariffs. And when they will be imposed tariffs, of course, it will be higher than the $50,000 cap for vehicles. So when you say that we're actually subsidizing, no. The reality is we're supporting cars that will be lower than 50,000.
But that's not
and
correct.
Obviously, this will have an impact on vehicles coming from the U.S. that are linked to automakers reducing their footprint.
Okay. There's 20 seconds left, Madame Dancho. Make it concise, please. Minister, make your response concise, please, and then we will move on to the next question.
So you're going to give me 20 seconds?
I'm giving you 20 seconds, yeah.
Again, this subsidy is accessible to American-made electric vehicles. We feel that that's deeply unethical, given what the American administration is doing. I'm not satisfied with your answers, so I'm going to move the following motion, Mr. Chair.
We'll get back to the absurdity of Canadian federal politics in a moment. Just a friendly reminder to smash the like, hit subscribe. Please leave a comment below if you have something to share. Let's get back to the nutty video.
Your new strategy for automotive, and I know you think it's going to work to create investment in Canada and create new production of vehicles. And I honestly hope you're right, because we need that help. What I want to actually ask you about is giving EV subsidies to American-made vehicles. I spent the weekend speaking with unemployed auto workers in my riding who work at the Brampton facility. And when I explained to them that Canadian tax dollars were going to subsidize the purchase of American EVs after their plant closed, it was supposed to build the Jeep Compass. That production went to the United States. And now tax dollars are going to go to subsidize the purchase of American EVs. They were outraged. They were outraged because Donald Trump's declared an economic war on our auto sector, and they lost their jobs because of it. What do you have to say to those auto workers who I spoke to on the weekend about subsidizing American EVs?
Well, listen, Kyle, I've met with them months ago, and I've met with the Stellantis workers. Some of them were offered a job in Windsor, which I think is too far away, but to build the Dodge Charger, which will be supported by this new EV incentive. And we can be proud because the Dodge Charger just won the best car in North America at the Detroit Auto Show, which happened to be the place where President Trump was there. So Canadian-made EV, and we're very proud of that. I think also, Ontario auto mayors just tweeted that we welcome the auto strategy, the rebate program project to support more than 840,000 new EV purchases. It's good news. And the EV market already grown from 3.1% in 2019 to 15.4% in 2024.
With all due respect,
So that's really good news as
Minister,
well.
I'm going to give you, you're complete? Okay. And Mr. Seeback, as I did with Madame Dancho, don't worry, I've paused the clock and I'm writing down how much time everyone's getting, so don't worry, we'll get through it. Mr. Seeback, back to you with 3 minutes left.
with all due respect, Minister, you didn't answer the question. I know it's a difficult one, but could you please try and answer the specific question, which is, what do you say to Canadian auto workers who have lost their job because of Donald Trump's tariffs on Canadian autos, and that your government is going to subsidize the purchase of American EVs? I don't want to hear about the auto strategy. I just want to know, what do you say to them? Because they want to know. They asked me to ask this question. What do you say to them that Canadian tax dollars are going to subsidize the purchase of American vehicles?
Well, when I spoke with the auto workers, what they told me is that they really were happy with the auto strategy because it brings predictability to a sector that is under attack by the U.S. administration. And so when I tell them we need to embrace electrification because that's where the rest of the world is going and we will be leapfrogging the American industry, they're saying, yes, I agree. And when I say to them, you know what, in the 80s, when the U.S. auto plants were closing, we decided to bring in the Japanese automakers, and at this point, they're 77% of our production. They're like, yes, I agree. And meanwhile, what I say to them is, we need to make sure that we at least keep the U.S. automakers in Canada, for those who are still here, to make sure that we keep the jobs of your colleagues. And in exchange, we will be able, if they reduce their production, to reduce their market access, and therefore they won't have access to the EV incentives, they say to me, you know what, Minister, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, no one that I spoke to this weekend.
I can give you names of those I talked to.
Well, you should update them because I don't think you told them that American EVs would be eligible for this subsidy, because when I told Canadian auto workers, they were outraged. You spoke about the Dodge Charger. Do you know how many Dodge Chargers were sold in Canada last year that would be eligible for this? You probably don't, but I do. It's 600, okay? So 600 vehicles are going to be eligible in Canada. Did you also hear that Stellantis is discontinuing its production of the Pacifica EV? They've put that statement out. So the vast majority of these subsidies are going to go to foreign countries, including the United States, with a president who's declared war on our auto industry. I don't know how you justify that. You can change it right. You can say, you know what, we made a mistake. American EVs are not eligible until the trade war is over. Why won't you do that?
There's something I don't understand with the Conservatives' point of view on industrial policy linked to the auto sector. Is why are you against electrification? You were against EV mandates, okay, we got rid of them, but we want to make sure that we increase, we want to reduce the GHG emissions and align ourselves more to Europe. But that's
Donald Trump, Canadian taxpayer dollars for vehicles.
It's more ideological than that.
Thank you, Mr. Seeback.
So fundamentally, there's something that I don't understand, because it is about embracing where basically the change is happening in the sector. It is about making sure that we can build the best cars in the world for the world. It is to stop to be a hostage of our geography and be able to export around the world. It is about also addressing the real affordability issue at a time where people want to invest in new and buy new vehicles, but they need a bit of help. So everybody's in favor of auto strategy, including the EV incentives. Only the Conservatives are against them.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Seeback.
Canadian federal politics are absurd. We're going to stick a fork in that video. It's over. My name's Aaron. This is Canadian Looney. Smash the like, hit subscribe. Please leave a comment below if you have something to share. Enjoy this playlist. Check out this video. We've got lots of things to watch. Aaron, Canadian Looney. We'll catch you in the next video. Thank you for watching this one. Ciao for now.